Welcome to the Awkwardness Podcast, where every episode we talk to a badass musician about their musical journey from its earliest beginnings to the present, and they play us one of the first songs they ever wrote, and then we follow the winding path from teenage garage band to present musical identity. We are all about that journey. We're your hosts. I'm Rose Sean.
I'm Terrence LeClaire.
And I'm Tony Tancredi.
And together we are
Awkwardness! Oh boy, so today we're talking to Adam Spolek of Double Wish. Adam is a visual artist as well as a musician. He's been in many bands, including Mount Osa with our very own Tony Tancredi. So Tony, why don't you tell us about that?
Take it, Tony.
You know, I'm not going to do it this time because we pretty much talk about it the whole first 10 minutes, but I will say we fell in love in Mount Osa.
Love it.
So, that's Mount Osa was really dope. I actually remember you guys from my early LA music days.
Sound bath.
Oh, yes.
But Adam took a little hiatus to focus on his art career, but he's reemerged into music with Double Wish, a self-described dark sunshine pop. And he's coming out of the gate hot with a slate of songs, videos, and live shows. I personally am a huge fan. He's on a couple of my playlists.
Same, and his videos are amazing.
His videos are
so good.
So
Check 'em
fire.
out.
It's a very nostalgic path we went down on this one.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to hear about how Adam got into the music game, got out, and then got back in again. And we might talk about some notable bands of the 90s. So
A little bit.
everyone starts somewhere, sometimes more than once. Here's our afternoon hang sesh with Double Wish.
Double Wish.
Oh, we got to do the, it's recording. So what's the,
Yeah, we go rockward, rockward, rockward.
Rockward.
We should all try to harmonize.
Rockward.
Okay, ready?
Rockwardness.
Rockwardness.
Welcome.
We'll get better at that.
Double Wish, Adam.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. It's a very cool house.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We're outside of
Isn't it
Spencer's
great?
house.
I don't live here.
Yeah, we're under a bunch of trees in Los Angeles. It's probably like 7 p.m. on a summer evening.
Yep.
There's an orange tree.
Just when the
It's
temperature
beautiful.
becomes
You can
tolerable.
hear, like,
the
outdoors.
temperature-
Dogs
just
barking.
starting to
It's
drop.
Highland Park. That's
Yep.
right.
It's beautiful.
Highland Park.
The Herman neighborhood,
Yeah,
founded in 1905.
Oh, wow,
way.
really?
Well, okay.
Yeah, that's what the sign says.
Oh,
It's true. It's true. Yeah,
brilliant.
I actually overheard this couple at a vegan bakery this morning talking about how they bought in Herman because it's kind of like Highland Park, but their realty websites didn't list it that way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Then
wow.
It's the best neighborhood you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Let's edit
Yeah,
this
it
out
is.
so people don't drive up the cost of living here.
Well, yeah, I was so interested about how you and Tony met, actually. I know this is like a different...
Yeah. So yeah, Tony and I have quite the history. I think we've known each other since I was maybe 17 or 18 years old. We met at Guitar Center
Yep.
Which one?
in Lake Forest, which is about 40 miles south from here.
Was it like the main guitar center of the town?
I think it was probably the only guitar center in
Around there.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny going into guitar centers now. Really, really bizarre compared to what they were back then.
Yeah. It was a fun culture, a fun environment. People were like wheeling and dealing. You were getting instruments for cheap.
Yeah.
It was just fun, you know?
Just like totally ripping off the corporation.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Wait, so you could just get like, how much for that guitar? How much you got?
Exactly.
I
Kind of
thought,
like
wow.
it was $4,000, and you're like, you know what? Let's do $3,000, and then you have to fight with the guy for like an hour, and then you end up like broing down, and then you get $3,000.
Oh, like buying a car.
Nice.
Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of.
Oh wow. So
Yeah.
so
But
did
more
one of
fun.
you work there?
I did.
Yeah, Tony
Oh,
worked
that makes
there.
sense.
Tony worked there, and then we initially met. I was playing in a band, and Tony wanted to book a tour for us
They were
up
awesome.
the West Coast. So we did that, and that's how Tony and I met. And then a few years later, Tony and I ended up in a band together with another guy who also worked at Guitar Center. And at one point, I actually just remembered this memory. We practiced inside of Guitar Center at like midnight
We
one
did.
night. And we set up in the light room where all
Yep.
the lights were
Yeah.
going,
Oh,
like all the
wow.
live
So
production
fun.
stuff.
Yeah.
Guitar Center was wild back in the day.
Yeah. We had to stay and
Yeah.
wait for like the painters to finish painting or the carpet people to fit. So we were like, yeah, we're gonna have rehearsal in the lighting room.
That's amazing. That's a good
Yeah.
job, Perk. So what?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the name of the band you were in when you met Tony?
We were called Space Pilot, and I joined that band much later on. It was, but it's still people that were part of that project are still very close friends, like Randy Felton, and so there's a lot of history, like insane amount of history. I think Tony and I have seen the best sides of each other and the worst sides of each other.
Truth.
We've lived on the road together for months at a time, and and now here we are.
Yeah.
On today's very special episode of Rockerness.
Yeah, playing bass in the band with Tony for that long was an interesting experience because it was very much so. I feel like Tony and I had a very supportive role in that project. We weren't really writing any of the music, but it was like a family. We all knew each other for a long time. But
So what did you bring us?
Well, yeah.
Tell us about
prior
your
to
recent
Tony,
musical-
what was your musical journey pre-Tony?
So actually, this when Tony called me to tell me about this, there was a vast discography to choose from. No, I'm just kidding. But
I believe you.
Yeah. So before Tony, when I was in high school, everybody was really into hardcore music and like heavy music, and I tried being into that for like a year, and it didn't really fit in.
Didn't take.
Didn't take, and so I got really into music like Death Cab for Cutie and stuff like that, and
What album?
Coldplay and songs for airplanes.
Oh, yeah,
or,
okay,
or
yeah.
Paper Air. I don't know what it's something airplanes. It's like a blue record.
Oh yeah.
And then I started a band. And this is like when MySpace ruled the world, which is actually, it's like thinking about MySpace now as an artist making music, there's not really a platform that serves both the musician and the individual as well as MySpace once did.
You kind of miss MySpace all of a
really
sudden.
bizarre, yeah.
100%.
Shout out to Tom yet again.
We were actually just talking about
Rest R.I.P.
R.I.P. Tom. Is he dead?
I don't know.
What happened to Tom?
Well, I'm sure he
Tom
landed
is
on
Mark
his feet.
Zuckerberg in disguise.
No,
Yeah.
but seriously, MySpace was the best. It was basically just free web hosting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like anything you put up there is still there.
So actually, through MySpace, I met Tommy Dumont. I met Nick Logie, and these are people that are still playing music and actively involved in the Los Angeles music scene, if not on a global level. Cavil at Rest was a band that I met through MySpace. Really bizarre, and so it's like so many of those relationships from high school. This is like the early 2000s. On MySpace still somehow play a role in my life today. Pretty bizarre. So I started this band called Polar with Tommy, and met this guy Philippe through that project. And growing up, and then Tony and I were in a band for a very long time. That was like a career at a moment, and returning to music after I stopped playing music in 2014 to focus on painting. And I went back to school for painting. And then when I wrapped that up, COVID hit, and I started playing music again. And I started working with Philippe again.
Yeah.
And this is almost like a 15-year gap between Philippe and I playing music in Polar to Philippe and I playing music with the Double Wish project.
That's so wild.
And so Philippe and I have a very intimate relationship because we've known each other for so long. We both know so much about each other's lives. And also as an artist, working in a studio one-on-one with somebody is a very intimate experience, at least for me. And actually the song that I'm going to play, that's the Polar song. What's funny about this song is, I'm like in 10th grade writing these like quote unquote love songs because I don't know what else to write about, but I'm also not really writing love songs because I wasn't in love with anybody. I didn't have a girlfriend or anything. I just was like really emo. And but what's funny is like now I still do consider my music kind of like new emo in the sense that like it's not ironic, it's very sincere. It comes from my heart. But I've got 15 years of like actual life experiences where I've gone through, all sorts of things, whether it's alcohol abuse or drug abuse or relationships or the passing of people close to me or things like that. So there's actually things to sing about now,
Right.
or to kind of mine my subconsciousness for. So yeah, this song that is a polar song, I can't tell you what it's about other than I was trying to just write really emo music, and it's really funny like playing it now.
That's so cool. Well, can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's
Yes,
do it.
please.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so this is a polar song. It's called Yeah. You've stolen my heart, made it whole again. Your perfect love gets me through the night. 'Cause you're all I have, and it's all I've got. Your perfect love gets me through the night. Yeah, you have me, and I have you. Have me, and I have you. It's all I've got. Your perfect love gets me through the night. Yeah, you have me, and I have you. I have you.
Yeah.
Wow,
Oh my
I
God.
definitely hear the Coldplay in there.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
16-year-old me
but I
trying
love it.
to turn a song into like a rom-com or something.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, dude, your voice sounded
It's got
great.
some Radiohead in there too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, of course.
That's,
So you were 17 when you wrote that?
Yeah, probably like 16 or 17.
16, that's
driving around in
amazing.
a 1989 Cutlass Sierra.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, so I have a twin brother, and he was playing in that group with me. And when I was 16, probably 16, because we had just gotten that Cutlass Sierra, we bought it together for like $600.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to play shows, and so I booked a show, and I was like, we got to play a show in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So I somehow was able to get like a show at a place in Venice Beach called, I don't know, like Maloons or something, like an Irish pub.
Was it O'Brien's?
O'Brien's.
It was
Yes.
O'Brien's.
Wow, rose
yes.
for the win.
O'Brien's. That's exactly what it is. So, we get the show at O'Brien's, and Jordan, my brother, and I, we like spend the entire day in LA, and we're all like, excited, and we show up. We like have no concept of Los Angeles, so we just go to like Hollywood, like where all the stars are and like the theaters, and like not realizing that Venice is like an hour drive west.
Oh
Like,
no.
100 miles away.
yeah. Even though it's like only 8 miles, it takes a lifetime to get there. And so, anyways, we get to O'Brien's, and the guy who booked us is just like, you guys can't play here because we were 16,
Right.
and we didn't get to play the show. So we didn't even get to unload our gear from the
All
car.
right, so don't go to O'Brien's.
No, they're just doing their job, man.
Wow.
Did you guys really look like 16 and stuff?
Yeah.
So immediately they were like,
Yeah.
what? So they just heard your songs and they booked you, but then they didn't see you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they can care less about like the music, right? They just like need like live acts and people go there to drink and.
I think I can actually safely say from experience that O'Brien's does not care about the music because they booked my shitty band. So
Man, so many O'Brien slams.
well, no, I mean.
L.A.
We did get to play, and I got to tell you, you didn't miss out.
Yeah, that's
You
funny.
didn't miss anything. So you got there, didn't even unload the van, and they were just like, hang on.
Yeah, we got there, didn't even unload the 1989 Cutlass Sierra.
Just like a van, sort of.
Yeah.
When you're 16, it's like huge.
It's like a cloud. It's like
It's like
great
driving a boat.
suspension.
We're going to have to post a picture on the Instagram so everybody knows what.
Yeah, do you have any old photos of that car?
No, definitely not.
We'll have to find it. You never went back, though.
Never went back to
Never went back to
O'Brien's.
O'Brien's, but I'd do it now.
Sure.
No
That should be
questions.
one of your first shows.
I mean, you'd have to address it. I mean, it would just be uncomfortable if you didn't.
Open up with that song.
I'd have to confront that bouncer.
Yeah, he still works
You
there.
think
for
this
sure.
is
Definitely still works
Rocky,
there.
yeah.
I'm here to get my revenge.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you weren't discouraged after not being let in. And you
No.
You kept writing, kept going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never discouraged.
So was that song, you said that song wasn't really about anything. 'Cause
No,
you
it's just
were-
like me thinking like, oh, this is like people write songs about like their relationships with people, and I guess that's what I'll do. Having no experience.
So just what you'd seen in the movies. Like,
yeah, like a
what-
rom-com song or
I mean,
something.
also clearly, some inspiration from our friend Chris Martin of
course,
Coldplay. Yeah.
of course.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that checks out. You haven't actually done anything yet. You're 16 years old. It's like,
Yeah.
what have I heard about love?
But see, here's the thing. So in that song, was there anything over the next 15 years that happened that made you think, oh, I almost like it was a premonition what I wrote in this song that I ended up living it? I find like that happens sometimes.
I think it does too. I don't know if it's that song in particular, but I think that there is kind of a similarity to like me coming around and writing music now as an adult, and working with Philippe again, Philippe Andre as a collaborator. And and this time actually having things to write about. So I don't know if it's that song in particular, but in a sensational way, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, was Philippe involved in like that other song at all, or was that pre-Philippe?
Philippe was just like playing drums for us.
That's so
Yeah, which is
cool.
funny because Philippe, not only is he engineering and producing the Double Wish songs, but he also is playing drums.
Yeah.
Wow, it's full circle.
Yeah, it's really funny.
But he was just the drummer of Polar.
Yeah.
Just the drummer.
Just
Sorry.
the drummer.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Hey, come
just the
on.
drummer. Sit back
Drummers need
there
love too.
and shut up.
Yeah. I will.
I know my role.
Yeah, right.
So actually, speaking of that, though, so you played bass for a couple of bands, is that right?
Yeah, so bass was in Space Pilot, which was the band I met Tony in, and then bass in the Union Line, which is the band that Tony and I had, and then that turned into a project called Mount Asa, and so I was playing bass in all of those projects.
The album of Mount Asa, like the cover is amazing.
Oh yeah,
It's like the furry person.
That's our buddy Johnny.
I did that cover with a guy named Matt McKenzie. Him and I worked on that together, and that's a photo of Johnny, who played keys and guitar in that band.
Yeah.
And we put him in like a alleyway in
New York
Brooklyn or something.
Yeah, I remember.
and-
So were you writing in those projects, or again, were you just the bass player?
I would say more so just the bass player. Occasionally, like, the writing of the bass parts would be a kind of a group effort. And it's always, when you're playing in a group, I think it's always best to do what's right for the song and not what's right for egos or things like that. But yeah, it's definitely not writing the music. And I also didn't identify really as a musician or as a writer in that group. I identified more so as like a performer. Yeah, and there's a number of reasons for that. I think, and I'm happy that was the case. I think now I think I was just percolating over the last decade plus.
Yeah.
That's great. Playing bass, would that inspire songs? Like, do you write mostly on guitar or just like?
Yeah, I mostly write on this guitar. This is a 1984 Takamine that has been in my family ever since I was born.
Oh, it's a Talk.
It's as old as I am.
The font on it makes it look like a Martin.
Yeah, they actually got sued by Martin because
so
of this guitar
funny.
because they modeled it exactly after.
Like it looks like
Martin.
exactly like a Martin.
Exactly.
It sounds
And
like one too.
It's a great guitar.
Yeah.
It sounds so good. And so I do most of my writing on this guitar. I think there's just an energy and a comfort with it because it's like a family member. It's like an heirloom, more than it is an instrument or something. And my father's a guitar player. And so the guitar and the collecting of guitars has always been a big part of my life. So most of the songs are written on, all of the songs are written on this guitar.
So it stuck with you all these years while the songs were percolating. The guitar sat silent.
I know.
Just
Look at
listening.
that patina, dude.
I know. It looks great. We
Yeah,
gotta
and
get a picture of that.
The places on the fretboard where it's rubbed bare.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's
So-
83, you said?
I think it's an 84.
84.
Yeah.
So were you writing at all when you were playing bass in these other bands, or were you just kind of sitting back and playing other people's music?
I was just sitting back. I think there was such a goal of making a career out of that project that it was all like we were just putting 100% of ourselves into trying to get that off of the ground. Yeah, I wouldn't say I was listening to a lot of music for sure. I still do listen to a lot of music, but wasn't really writing.
What were you listening to?
Oh, all sorts of music. Yeah, it's funny. It's such a catch-22 maybe is the phrase, but like I have a very wide taste of in music, but I'm also very picky.
So like what would be your like most eclectic kind of surprise influences? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So anything from in the classical world, I like Prokofiev, Eric Satie. In the electronic music world, I like Underworld. I like Todd Terje. In the
I never knew how to pronounce his name. I always thought it was Todd Terje, but Terje.
I don't know. Is it?
I know. I've never
I'm pretty
seen
sure it's
it.
Terje.
I've never heard it out loud.
Yeah.
But I love him. Yeah.
Yeah, that record is amazing.
Yeah. That's so cool. So like, yeah, when was that moment that you went? Because like, so you're growing up around all these hardcore people, and you're like trying to hear that. That's got some industrial, some like sometimes it's got like some electronic component to it. But so with the Coldplay and with everything, like when was that transition that brought you into a more electronic kind of like songwriting and composing?
I think I never hung out with people my own age in high school. I was always hanging out with older people, and that's who got me into like Radiohead and Coldplay. And this is probably about the time like Hail to the Thief was like coming out, maybe even before then. For sure, like I remember A Rush of Blood to the Head coming out.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah.
Great record.
Clocks being the song for the Peter Pan movie. And when I heard that piano riff,
Yeah.
that was a formative moment. I remember I was like in a movie theater, and that was the one of the trailers, and just like being like, I need to figure out what this song is.
It's so lush.
And then going to like I don't know, Tower Records or something, and just like, listening to the sample. You scan the barcode on the CD, and you just like can listen to like 18 seconds of music.
Was that Virgin Megastore?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
like
and just, like,
also
you listen
high
to
five
bars
on that.
over
I
and
had
over.
the same experience,
That's awesome.
the exact same experience. Peter Pan movie trailer. So funny.
I also have I like a lot of 90s alternative pop rock from Sheryl Crow, the Goo Goo Dolls, Third Eye Blind. Is all music I really love. And it's funny because for a long time it was easy to think of those as like guilty pleasures because everybody's too busy trying to be like hip and cool in their 20s. And it's not until like later in life are you willing to accept the fact that like you get stoked about, like the Goo Goo Dolls or
man.
Third
You
Eye
can-
Blind.
That
You
Third
can
Eye
just
Blind
like music
album.
other people like.
Yeah, actually, years ago, Philippe and I went to a Third Eye Blind show, and I knew like the guy who was doing sound or something, so it was just like a free show, something to do, and we were kind of going ironically, and I remember the singer of Third Eye Blind like halfway through their set, like calling us out. Like he was talking to Philippe and I. It was bizarre. Like he's like, I know there's some of you here tonight who think it's funny to come to a Third Eye Blind show.
Whoa.
But just know that you're part of this.
Uncut.
And that totally like was like, damn, he's right. Like,
That's beautiful.
it is ironic to like be like, oh yeah, Jumper is a good song or whatever. But after that experience, and the same with like Goo Goo Dolls. I went to a Goo Goo Dolls show like 2 or 3 years ago. It was so good. And I think partially why, I mean, they've got a bunch of horrible songs. Every artist, whether they're a musician or a painter or whatever, they've got good material and they've got not as good material. They're just part of putting out content. But the thing I like the most about the Goo Goo Dolls has nothing to do with the music, and it has everything to do with the fact that they still are in disbelief to this day that they've had the career that they've had. And I think that engaging in that kind of like innocence is like really great for being a creative person and not burning yourself out and just consistently being excited about being able to make music, let alone make music and it be like a career, let alone make music, it be a career and there be like a legacy to it.
I remember seeing Goo Goo Dolls like years ago, and he was playing Name, and it was just like he kind of had this moment where he's just like everyone's kind of like losing it, cheering, and he's like, "Oh, you've heard this one?" Like he always had like a kind of sense of humor about just how big they got. I think
My first concert ever.
Yeah, was
Yeah.
Goo Goo Dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. Bush, Goo Goo Dolls, and No Doubt.
Wow.
The holy trifecta?
At the Roanoke Civic Center, and that was like before they got cool haircuts. You know what I'm talking about? Like, remember how they like put out their, I don't know, sophomore album or whatever, and they got all like styled?
Yeah.
No, man.
They were still like hard rocking.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
The
They're, like,
show, they
upstate
were
New
wearing
York.
like
Trench
cargo
coats.
shorts and like, the like hair about this long parted in the middle,
Yeah,
like
that's
fish
great.
t-shirts or something.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
a few photos of them saved on my phone actually from like
Oh, what?
before City of Angels soundtrack, and they just dress really cool. Like, yeah, they have a really cool look.
Is that
And
prior to Boy Named Goo?
Yeah, this is like when I think Jed,
Oh yeah,
maybe I think
Oh my
that was
God.
the name of the record. Like,
something. Yeah,
and it was like much more like punky music.
yeah.
really
It was like the
rough edges.
Replacements, kind of
Yeah.
more.
But yeah, Name was like their like breakout, like heartfelt
Mm-hmm.
ballad.
There's cool guitar tuning on that.
All of their songs
Yeah.
have really interesting guitar tuning.
Sorry, this is not a podcast about the Goo Goo Dolls, but I can just see that we all
Welcome
share a
back to
certain
Rock
cultural
with
reference
Goo Goo.
here.
Well, it's also like, I mean, we're talking about culture too. Like,
Yeah.
part of, I think, the reason why there's a special place in my heart for that band is it was always like the friend's older sister had a Goo Goo Dolls poster, and we all looked up to her, and we all had crushes on her.
Right,
You know,
oh.
like,
Yeah,
it'd be like The Crow, the movie, and then the Goo Goo Dolls. Like,
That's funny.
all this like late 90s, alternative
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh
that-
yeah, the cool older sibling wins every time.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man.
For sure.
That's great. That had the Crow, of course, the Crow movie poster.
Yeah.
That because that soundtrack was fire too. Like
was.
all those bands that I'd certainly never heard of because I lived in nowhere, Virginia. Like,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, boy, that soundtrack was just like. I mean, come on, you guys remember that?
Yeah. What was the music scene in Lakeview? Was that where you grew up, Lakeview?
In like Lake Forest.
Lake Forest.
Yeah. There's no music scene in Lake Forest.
Oh.
But I mean, you could have some
hardcore,
access.
back
to,
when we were young.
Oh, sorry.
There was a hardcore scene.
Yeah,
There was like a hardcore
that was about
scene.
it.
So when you say hardcore, I'm just curious, like what kind of stuff? Like I'm trying to
Like screaming music.
like
Yeah, I believe
Yeah,
they call that
that's what it
vocal
all
style
sounded like.
retching.
I love it.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
love all music here at Rockerness.
So you had, but you kind of had access to LA, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's the OC Punk thing, which I don't know, I don't know enough about it, but
I don't want to sound like there is no Orange County music scene. I mean, Orange County definitely hurts in the culture department in a lot of ways, but Sugar Ray was from Orange County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's some members from Korn that were from Orange County.
Blink 182.
Was Blink 182?
I think so. They're Anaheim,
I
aren't
was
they?
going to say
No,
there's
the
a
San
lot
Diego.
of
My
musicians from
mistake.
Orange County.
Here's one.
Yeah.
There's San
Here's a
Diego.
good one. Fastball.
Oh.
Started in Orange
Hey.
County, moved to Austin.
Hey.
That's where they got discovered. But if you go to any record store in Orange County and bring up Fastball, I guarantee the owner will be like, "Oh yeah, I know those guys."
But where were those guys going without ever knowing the way?
I mean,
Good
they
one.
might have been from Orange County, but where were they
Good
going?
one.
Yeah,
Yay.
nice and
Yeah.
terrible.
Which, by the way, there's that song, the Machine Gun Kelly. It samples like "Out of My Head, Out of My Mind." There was like a song that was
Is
like
it Out
that.
of My
It's like-
Head? Oh, I probably
yeah,
can't sing
that
it.
melody. Yeah, you know what I'm talking
Oh
about?
yeah, I forgot
How
about
could
that.
I
Yeah,
have
when I
been
heard that,
so
I'm like,
blind?
Yeah.
oh. And it's funny how a lot of these 90s melodies kind of find their way today in different songs where I'm like, I know
Yeah.
where you got that
This
from.
is I think what's interesting, this is like a postmodern thing. And I think
Yeah.
that I mean actually Limp Bizkit, I don't know if you guys saw, I watched their whole Lollapalooza performance this morning while I was laying in bed.
Oh, Lollapalooza. It just
What year? From
happened,
what year?
right?
It just happened.
Oh,
No,
this
it's
year.
Like, yeah,
This
it
year's
was
like
like
no
last
way.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they
And
were
they-
one of the headliners.
Wow.
And,
Oh, I missed out on
it was
that.
super entertaining, but I mean,
Did they
before
incite a
watching,
Yeah,
riot?
what did they look like? I gotta see
well,
that.
Fred Durst is dressed like an old man. Like he has a wig on,
Like
and
on
he's
top, like they've
Oh,
always
like
had a
on
fun,
purpose?
good
Oh,
sense of
I've
humor.
seen-
Yeah.
I've
super
seen
good sense of
pics.
humor.
I've
But-
seen pics.
Yeah, but there's Limp Bizkit songs from the early 2000s where they're like straight up like singing another person's song in their song,
Faith,
and yes,
Well, but
yeah,
I mean that's a cover though.
if you call it that. Oh, shots fired. No,
Oh,
no, it's
yeah.
funny. They were always like you. It's kind of like I feel like they paved the way for a lot of comedy bands.
Well, I have to say, I think it's kind of a power move to be like, a band from
That's
a
hilarious.
sort of
Yeah.
past era, even if it's not that long ago, and get on stage at a present festival dressed like an old man. Like,
Yeah.
I dare you to make fun of me.
Yeah.
That's, I mean,
Yeah.
I gotta respect that.
Yeah.
That. That's pretty cool. But so how was it?
How was
Their set?
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was like super fun. And I've been waiting. It's interesting. I've been waiting for a musician to start mining rap rock because we've yet to see it come back. There's a band that I saw recently, and these guys are probably in their mid-20s, and they're totally doing it. I'm like, wow, this is like I've been waiting, and it's sick. It was so good. And it's not like they're regurgitating rap rock, they're mining it. They're just like taking certain things from it and redefining it.
What's
And
a-
it was
Yeah,
super entertaining.
It's so interesting. Like when
What's the
Lil,
name of the
Lil
band?
Peep.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
They're called Dead Poetic Society or
Oh.
Dead Poet Society.
What?
Right.
Yeah, like after the movie.
Like the
Sorry,
movie.
that was
Yeah.
that loud. That's okay. I need
they're
to know
they're
about
they're
them.
pretty well established, and I think
That's a
like
great
K Rock's
film.
submitting them, and
It's I love the complete melding of stuff. Like like Lil Peep had a beat that was based on Such Great Heights from Postal Service, and I
Yeah.
thought that was really like it's like okay, now we're just completely combining like
Yeah.
all these interesting things into like, and then it just becomes more about feel instead of just what the thing once was. It's just like, which I guess sampling always was. It's kind of like it's more what does it feel like versus like. I know like when Beastie Boys like sampled Led Zeppelin, like if you know Led Zeppelin, you're listening to it and you're like, this sounds a little bit strange, but they were more kind of like, it sounds like rock guitars.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it feels different when the sample is something that's like
So
from
familiar.
your
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
It's not like some like old thing that you may or may not recognize. It's like something that was like iconic.
Right.
At
do you
a
ever
point
get
where you
defensive
were.
about it though? Like there was like a few
I
years
feel like
ago.
it's
There's
an,
an
Yeah.
old, it's an old person thing to do,
Yeah.
and I try not to do that.
To be, yeah, I know. Yes,
No,
I
I
agree.
100% do.
To like break, I try to break down all of like the negative
Yeah.
energy. It's not worth. What do you gain out of it?
Right.
You don't gain anything out of it.
Yeah. Because
Well-
then you're just kind of like,
You're like
Yeah.
just
I
I
hanging out
feel
with
like
your
a grumpy
snobby
old man,
friends.
like, Hey,
Yeah.
your kids don't know.
No, I'm so guilty of that. I'm so guilty of that. My partner here will attest to that. But no, it's funny though. Like, I mean, Limp Bizkit's heyday, I think, was kind of when I was in college, and like that was sort of kind of the heyday of that like new metal rap rock thing.
Toxic masculine rock.
Yes, totally. Yeah, toxic masculinity core or whatever. But we actually like are now almost at this 20-year cycle where like what's old is new again. And like when I was in 7th grade in the 90s, like we were wearing all this like 70s stuff, and like
Yeah.
we're there with the early 2000s right now.
Yeah.
And so it totally makes sense that there's like younger bands that are like, hey, we discovered this cool thing.
But it also is like so comforting knowing that I do not have to participate in the clique. and like
Amen.
I
Yeah.
don't need to participate in like trying
Amen,
to
brother.
be in those photos and like oh God, there's
Yeah.
nothing worse than and this is also like aligns with me just accepting the fact that I am a Goo Goo Dolls fan and I can care less about what anybody thinks of that.
You found a home here, friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And no one, and we're the only, I'm trying to think of the lyrics of Name to make a joke, but I can't.
But I do think it's interesting to watch like style and certainly music and how old is new again, and
Yeah.
then the best part is that these people think they invented it.
You know what I'm really excited about? And it's almost gotten to the point where it's like we're beating a dead horse, but there's just been this huge Grateful Dead resurgence, and you see it from in the art world, you see it in the Levi's store. I bet you see it in Kohl's. Like
Really?
yeah, like it's really bizarre, really really bizarre, and I don't know if it's a trend. I mean, it's hard to call it a trend, right? Because there's always been like the deadhead thing. But I would hope that it's kind of a return to sentiment in a way because there's this kind of family quality to that band, you know?
Yeah, they have John Mayer now.
They're very much about community. It's true.
Very much so about community.
Yeah.
I went to their show at the Hollywood Bowl like, I don't know, 2 years ago.
That's with John Mayer, right?
With
Yeah.
John,
Oh, yeah, he's just
John
shredding.
Mayer.
John
Wait,
and Co.
like as Jerry Garcia?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Well, not,
Well, not
he's not
as
dressed
Jesus
as Jerry.
Wait,
Christ.
well, sorry,
No,
blasphemy.
It's actually
Blasphemy.
not.
It's not
it's
like
actually not
cosplaying or anything,
It's called.
yeah.
I think they specifically call it Dead and Co.
Dead and Co.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
I thought
but
it was
he's
John
the,
and Co.
But he's the stand-in for.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's him
Okay.
and Bob Weir. And Bob Weir is a gilf if I've ever seen one. That dude is in such good shape. And
How old
and
is he? He's up there.
He's up there, dude. But he is in such good shape.
Wow.
And he's still killing it.
the DILF.
Him and Lindsey Buckingham, man. Just
Lindsey Buckingham.
Is he in good shape?
yeah,
Yeah,
he looks
I haven't
amazing.
seen him
Like he looks
recently.
like he's like 50, and he's got to be at least 70.
Wow.
Whoa.
And you know what they say about 50?
It's, a
it's
new,
the new 30.
Right? Yeah, totally.
So it's
I hope
still
so.
a boomer.
It's so funny. I feel like in a way you're almost like talking about my teenagehood because they're
Great.
like every single reference you're making is like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that.
The zeitgeist.
It was
The
yeah.
social consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, we must be the same age, but yeah. So okay. So you were percolating. You were listening to a wide variety of music. You were like really going hard with it. Was it with Mount Asa? And then you know what? And then you took a break. He said from music. So what was it that made you go like, maybe I'm gonna write my own shit?
And also like why like you took a turn too with the kind of songwriting you were doing. But
Yeah. I think what made me want to write music again was COVID and being in my apartment and thinking like, oh, like this is kind of funny, like because there's no live music, which is not funny. I understand a lot of people suffer because of that, but I was thinking, I could start a band and it can solely exist on the internet, and yeah, so then I just started like writing or solidifying ideas and getting together with Philippe Andre and recording the songs.
Were you like, what were you using to record? Because you guys weren't living together, right?
No,
it's
yeah.
like-
So I just demo all of my songs on GarageBand
and send him over?
with just the internal mic, and then I go to his studio and
Yeah.
we spend. I spend. I only like spending about 2 days on a song, getting all the tracks in there, and then Philippe will spend much longer mixing and making it, and maybe we'll do one more day of like touch up work or something. But there's certainly a lot more work that goes into the songs than just the 2 days that I'm in there actually applying myself. But one thing about spending 7 years painting and having a very, very quiet, intimate studio practice was you really learn like how to leverage your shortcomings as a creative into power moves. And you really get familiar with yourself. And I feel like, yes, I went to school for painting, but what I really learned was how to solve creative problems based on my impulses.
Nice.
So even now, the question of like the type of music that I'm writing, to me, I'm not too concerned about the type of music I'm writing as much as I'm concerned about just like knowing that I'm genuinely expressing myself. That is always the goal, from having to sing a certain way and having to make funny faces to hit notes. Like I really want to make sure that I'm always being true to myself as an artist. And that ultimately is what's going to make me remember my songs is like, because I know that they are like true.
And it was really interesting that, like, I mean, it's a thing that happened to a lot of people, like during like the lockdown, like rediscovering music and stuff,
course,
and really
yeah.
all that, and just like, you know, with GarageBand, there was an app called BandLab. I think it still exists, which is like a GarageBand where you can like share it with different people.
Oh, cool.
And stuff like that. But that's really, did having to solve problems creatively make you go in that more electronic direction? Because like for the songs on Spotify that are out right now, like they have this great kind of electronic feel to them, which I wonder if that was due to what was available when you were writing the songs.
By electronic, could you expand on that a little bit more? Like produced, or like the synth stuff, or the drum tones, or
All of it, really. Like, yeah.
Did you find yourself leaning on synthesizers a little bit more because you didn't necessarily like have the ability to like bring in more people to do whatever, like play a
would that have
cello,
been
or I don't know.
no?
preference?
I think it's just those are the tools that are available to me in Philippe's studio. And he knows his way around them really well. And then also just like going into there with a song and having reference material and knowing, you know, like the synthesizer for me is a great tool to create contrast. It's a great tool to have like, I want it to build up here and then I want it to drop off of a cliff. Like those types of, to create contrast, and contrast draws attention to transitions and things like that. Which this is all painting talk too.
Those are the paints on your palette. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's actually really funny thinking about mixing color and then mixing sound. There's so many similarities. And so Philippe and I get to have this like very abstract dialogue. That's great. That's really awesome.
You've successfully expressed yourself through those paints,
Yeah.
whether it's through music or painting, actual painting.
Yeah.
So you're saying you have the dialogue through mixing the sounds?
Yeah, well, Philippe and I have all, you know, dialogue conversationally, but you know, the idea of like in a painting, if you need to make something lighter, the solution might be to make everything around it darker. And the same as when you're mixing music. If you want the synth up, well, maybe it's not turning the synth up, it's turning the guitars down, you know? That is just like a very surface example of what I'm talking about. But so there's just been this great conversation that Philippe and I have been having where, you know, it's fluidly going from painting to music and painting to music and painting to music. And it's also like philosophical and ethical as well. Very rich studio sessions.
That's awesome.
I mean, collaborating with someone you're close to personally,
For so
creatively
long.
is really, I mean, really
Yeah.
is incredibly cool and deep and rewarding. So that's,
Yeah.
I love the language you're using to describe it. So, I mean, were you thinking before COVID, like, gee, maybe I'd like to get back to writing, or did that just like happen because you were bored?
I wasn't thinking about that, but one thing I was thinking about is that there's no better feeling than playing an amazing set on stage in front of thousands of people, walking off and just knowing that you killed it. And the type of relationship that you and bonds you form with the people you perform with. And yes, you can have openings and exhibitions. But Dave Hickey is an art critic from like the 80s and 90s, and also like a culture critic, but he claims that music's like the ultimate form of art and expression. And I agree with him, because when it's being performed, the audience is just as much a part of that expression as the performer.
Speaking of, is there a new song that you wrote that you'd like to share with us?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you have any unreleased stuff?
I'll play you Fever Dream.
Okay.
Sure.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually, full disclosure, have that on a playlist. We've got in heavy rotation right now.
Thank you so much.
I have it on a
Seriously,
couple playlists. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. That means a lot to me. Yeah, that really means a lot.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Calmly defeated defenses to convince myself. Negotiating all the things that can turn on a dime. The future's looking for me. Doesn't matter if you don't need it, it's your turn. Blending into every single evidence of blood, to keep it turning, and all the things that can turn out alright. The future's looking for me. Deeper than an ocean, further than the stars. Is it really slipping? A fall that never stops. And all the things that can turn out alright. The future's looking for me. Deeper than an ocean, further than the stars. Is it really slipping? A fall that never stops. Try again on Monday.
Man, that little fake Martin Takamine has amazing tone.
It's
Sounds
a beautiful
so good.
it's a beautiful object.
That's that is a great instrument, and I love hearing that song in a different way too.
Same.
Where did the name Double Wish come from?
Double Wish was a name of a painting I made in 2018 or 2019. And for a while I was making paintings of like dandelions that looked like they were getting like hit by an atomic bomb, you know, like and I just remember like having the idea of making those paintings and just being so inspired and excited about the concept of somebody being able to stand in front of a painting and make a wish.
Oh my goodness.
And then that wish being magnified or measured by the intensity of how it's being blown out.
Wow.
So then I made a painting of it's like 8 by 6 foot painting of 2 dandelions blowing out in opposite directions. And I kind of thought of it as like the idea of like having your cake and eating it too. Like if you had a desire, you had multiple desires in your heart, but they were in opposition of each other. Or if you had 2 people that were in a partnership that had desires that were in opposition of each other or whatever, you know. So I called the project Double Wish because I knew that how excited I was about those paintings and that idea. And I can care less about what anybody thinks of it. And I just know that it's like, that is what I want. And that's kind of what I'm after as a creative, is not, knowing that what I'm putting out there is truly coming from my heart and is truly me expressing myself. That's always like kind of the priority. And so I figured, I want to name the project that because it's, it's this kind of symbol of standing your creative ground and defending your creative integrity.
Making dreams come true.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you so much,
I love
man.
that.
Yeah, dude, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Adam, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Double
Yeah,
Wish.
Double Wish. Listen to him on Spotify.
Yeah.
That was Double Wish. We had the
Yes.
best time with Adam.
Sure
I
did.
love sharing all those cultural touch points. If you're honest with yourself, you also love the Goo Goo Dolls.
Admit it.
Admit
It's
it.
okay. This is a
Yeah.
safe space. Yes.
I have
you can admit it.
very good memories about the Goo Goo Dolls. My
Yeah.
first concert ever. I also loved his story about their failed gig at O'Brien's. I could just imagine that, like somebody should make a movie about it. Since our interview, Double Wish has released 4 awesome singles, so definitely hit them up wherever you stream or download music. They also have some dope videos up on YouTube. You should definitely follow them there. We'll put links in the show notes. Follow them on Instagram so you can keep up with upcoming live shows and releases. That's Double Wish with 2 Ds on Instagram. You can also follow us on Instagram at Rockwardness. We'll be posting fun pictures of things we talk about in our episodes, plus maybe some behind-the-scenes shenanigans. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, pretty please. It really helps us grow both as people and as a podcast.
Yes.
Love you, mean it. See you next time.
Bye, 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 bye.